Mumbai. Board exam results day. A teenager walks into a room expecting a lecture, maybe even some yelling. Instead, his family erupts in cheers, hands clapping, balloons everywhere. They threw a surprise party for his Class 10 board results, and the centerpiece of the celebration? A custom cake shaped exactly like his mark sheet, down to the specific subject scores, 57 in English, 59 in maths, totaling 276 out of 500. That is a final score of exactly 55.20%. The video hit the internet and immediately split the room. Thousands praised the family. They saw a group choosing happiness and emotional support, actively building a child's self-belief rather than crushing it under the weight of societal comparison. Then came the backlash. Critics called the celebration a humiliation ritual. The comment section flooded with dark humor from users recalling their own trauma, with one joking they would have been beaten with a stick for scoring an 85%, let alone a 55. This friction stems from a deeply ingrained cultural reflex. In the Indian context, a report card is rarely treated as an objective measure of a student's learning progress. It acts as a public ledger of a family's social reputation. This massive digital debate over a simple fondant cake highlights the friction between traditional academic expectations and a growing movement toward student well-being. It forces a real conversation about how we respond to failure. To understand why that cake sparked such a title, Suicide by Students is an Unintentional Murder. The abstract lays out a terrifying reality. A student takes their own life every 42 minutes due to immense parental expectations. You can see the physical toll of this environment outside any major coaching center. Thousands of anxious teenagers queue up, funneled into a relentless drive to secure highly coveted engineering or medical seats. Once inside, they face an industrial-scale examination machine. Rows upon rows of students are packed into massive halls, forced to prove their entire intellectual worth through a few hours of rote memorization. Which brings us to a specific scientific question. Could celebrating a 55% score actually yield a healthier, more successful student than punishing an 85%? Based on the clinical data, a supportive response to failure acts as a vital safeguard for a student's neurological and physical survival. When parents exert extreme academic pressure, it rarely comes from malice. It is a product of cultural conditioning, a genuine fear for their child's future employability, compounded by lo kya kahenge, the anxiety of societal judgment, and often the projection of unfulfilled aspirations. Parents are operating within a structurally broken system. Studies show 93% of Indian students are aware of only 7 traditional career options. Millions of diverse, uniquely skilled minds are being squeezed into just a handful of narrow exit pipes. The resulting bottleneck creates severe clinical symptoms in adolescence. Research documents chronic sleep disturbances, frequent panic attacks, and rising rates of generalized anxiety disorder. When a bad grade inevitably happens in this pressure cooker, the default parental response is usually external negative reinforcement, scolding the child or removing privileges like sports or video games. Psychological data shows this tactic backfires. Stripping away the exact activities that build a child's confidence actively destroys their internal motivation. The old-school model of academic pressure completely misunderstands how the adolescent brain processes failure. By relying on fear, it turns the process of learning into a trauma response rather than a mechanism for growth. This is where the family with the 55% cake demonstrates a different, scientifically backed framework. Psychologists call it authoritative parenting, an approach defined by being warm yet firm. This is the exact opposite of helicopter parenting. Helicopter parents hover, micromanage, and try to prevent every mistake. That over-involvement stops the student from developing the necessary autonomy to function independently. Social workers compare academic development to a game of Jenga. Initially, the tower needs external structural support, an outer layer of scaffolding to stay upright. To build resilience, parents must slowly remove that scaffolding block by block. You step back from managing their homework routine or packing their bag. You allow the child to wobble, learn how to stabilize themselves, and importantly, learn how to fail safely. Because a bad grade is rarely a sign of low intelligence. More often, it is a symptom of missing soft skills, specifically executive functioning, things like organization, their working memory, and time management. The celebration in Mumbai functioned as a form of psychological scaffolding. By reinforcing the student's emotional safety first, the family created the secure foundation necessary to later address his academic performance. Ultimately, a mark sheet is a very narrow data point. It measures a student's memory capacity and test-taking endurance on one specific day. It does not dictate their inherent worth, nor does it predict their future capability. When a bad grade hits, students need an actionable plan. Step 1 is to analyze the failure logically rather than emotionally. Figure out if the low score is due to a lack of understanding the actual content or if it is simply a time management issue. For parents, the first step is physical distance to let initial anger pass. Then, engage using the I noticed framework. Say, I noticed your math grade is low. Help me understand what happened, instead of firing off accusatory you statements. Framing the conversation this way lowers the student's defensive walls. It opens communication, and importantly, it forces the teenager to take accountability and actively participate in creating a solution. You cannot fix a study habit in a hostile environment. Establishing emotional safety at home must precede any academic correction if you want long-term intrinsic learning to take root. We are preparing students for a global economy that looks nothing like a multiple-choice exam. The modern market rewards diverse, creative problem-solving and emotional resilience far more than rote memorization within a strict engineering or medical binary. If the pressure has already built up to a dangerous level, systemic, free resources are available. Government initiatives like the Mano Darpan Psychosocial Support Program and the Kiran toll-free helpline exist specifically to help students and families navigate extreme academic anxiety. Which brings us back to Mumbai and redefining what a successful reaction to a 55% score actually looks like in practice. In a society obsessed with ranking first and comparing scores, punishing a child for slipping up is the easy, expected response. The bravest, most effective competitive advantage a parent can provide is teaching their child exactly how to navigate failure.